Good evening and welcome to this, the first virtual or online meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth, held on Monday, April 6, 2020. I'm Mayor Todd Kasenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the Deputy Clerk to note our starting time for the minutes is 7:05 p.m. We're a few minutes late as we troubleshoot the technical challenges that come with having a first virtual meeting. Today's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after the meeting as an archived video. Anyone who is invited to speak in this meeting will be recorded and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Thank you. We continue to manage in the face of the global pandemic associated with COVID-19. Since our last meeting, I have declared a state of emergency to exist, which has conferred various additional powers on me as head of council. As I pledged on that occasion, I will use these powers lightly, since our organization's response to the pandemic has, in my opinion, been exemplary. A great deal of effort continues to be expended by this organization to ensure that we are appropriately dealing with the challenges before us. Caution and compassion have become our mantra for our work ahead. I encourage all to continue to practice physical distancing, and in public spaces that means maintaining a 2-meter buffer amongst yourselves and greatly restricting your visits to many establishments in public space. This is not the time to be shopping together with friends. This is a time to stay at home as much as possible. This is a time to support your favorite businesses through purchases of gift certificates and cards online. This is a time of enhanced hygiene and hygiene. Quite frankly, this is not a time to be overly critical of the various agents and agencies who are working flat out to support the behavioral changes that are needed. With that, I appreciate the councillors who are here with me, albeit virtually, to participate in this meeting. In some ways, it's a bit lonely to be sitting at this council table without the physical presence of my colleagues, but we'll get through. This meeting is really, in some ways as well, a beacon of normalcy in a period of great change. I won't say using web conferencing is normal, and we are bound to experience a few hiccups. However, we will do some other business. We will do some business other than that tonight, beyond those hiccups. I continue to appreciate the work of the staff. We have seen heroism, and at least some of it is in this building. Our work to reopen a child care center for children of emergency workers, a key priority at this moment, requires courage and heroism, and I hold that up tonight before our community for its recognition. This time, I invite your decorum over the course of the coming meeting. There are some unusual procedural things that I'll describe in a few moments. But first, I'm going to turn to item 2.1 on our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended time, I invite all councillors with pecuniary interest, including those who have declared previously in writing, to verbally advise the chair in public session, and if not already done, to submit documentation to this effect in writing to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should potentially arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. At this time, I'll call on Anna Drayson, who has so indicated to make her declaration. Councillor Andresen. I'm getting a delay. Councillor Andresen. Okay, we may have lost Councillor Andresen. I'm not sure. We're not hearing you, Leanne, at this time. Are you able to come onto the line? Unmute yourself.
Hi, Councillor Andresen here. And I'll declare a pecuniary interest on item 5.4.2 as I am a landowner on the drain. Consequently, I'll declare conflict of interest, pecuniary interest on confirmatory bylaw 13.1.
Thank you. If you'd mute yourself now. Councillor Behrens, I know that you have declared in advance. Would you like to state that declaration?
Yes, thank you. I would declare conflict on 5.4.1, the accounts, as well as the 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw, as I did when the debt was incurred for the North Perth Spinrite Child and Family Center, and had grandchildren attending there.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Behrens. And Deputy Mayor Kellum, did you have one tonight as well?
Yes, I do, Mayor Kaysenberg. I, Doug Kellum, declare a conflict of interest with items 5.4.1, 13.1, the confirmatory bylaw, as my mother and father-in-law are tenants on Perth Meadows.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a declaration this evening? Seeing no further indication of that, I'm going to take a moment to indicate our revised process for the evening. I'm going to systematically try to seek consent from various councillors as movers and seconders of the various resolutions and bylaws that will be put before us tonight. I will do this alphabetically. Should a councillor not wish to respond to the request to be a mover or seconder, they may say so, and I will move on to the next name on the alphabetical list. Regarding speaking to our business, councillors tonight will identify themselves through our conferencing technologies chat function. The clerk is assisting me tonight in maintaining the speaking order from that source. Councillors are allowed on their turn to deliver a primary question or comment and may make one supplemental question or comment. We will follow speaking order carefully, and any councillor who wishes a second say will have to indicate again and go to the bottom of the speaker's list for the item. This is actually a very normal process consistent with Robert's Rules of Order. Councillors are reminded that if I believe you are not audible, I will call on you. You do not need to ask if you can be heard. I will be the arbiter of that. Councillors are further asked to maintain a mute state in the web conference until I have called upon you for a verbal reaction. Should any of your votes not show up in eScribe, our voting technology, I will call on you when things seem stalled to register a manual vote. At that time, take yourself off mute, answer yes or no on the motion, and then return to mute. Now on with some business. Regarding item 2.2 on our agenda this evening, I have a motion before me for the adoption of the agenda for tonight's meeting that reads as follows: that the agenda for tonight's meeting as amended be approved. Can I call on Councillor Andreessen to be our mover?
Yes, Mayor Kaysenberg, I will make that motion to move and approve the agenda.
Thank you. And Councillor Anstead, can I call on you as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that motion, Mayor Kaysenberg.
Thank you. Any discussion on this matter at this time? If you wish to participate in discussion, please indicate in the chat window for the clerk. I will pause for a few seconds. Clerk Belfrelds, do we have any indication of desire to speak? Okay, so we have no indication of speakers at this time. Therefore, let's have that vote. Are we having some difficulty with the technology? Why are we not seeing the screen at this time? Is this a setting that in eScribe that we're not seeing? Okay, so we're experiencing a technical difficulty. I'm going to ask the deputy clerk who has not voted, because I have seen the vote poll on my screen. So can you tell me who has not voted? There we go. Okay, so we're missing votes from Councillor Behrens, Councillor Behrens, what say you on this vote?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Seiler,
Yes, I'm in favor.
and was there one more? And Councillor Johnston is absent, which means that that is carried. Thank you. Okay, so first little technical challenge there, but we'll move forward from that. We are now at item 3 on our agenda, the so-called consent agenda. These items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be not contentious, yet they require council's approval. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. There are 4 items on our consent agenda tonight, including the minutes of last week's regular council meeting. While one of these items is from the Atwood Lions Club, of which I am a member, I do not believe there is a pecuniary interest in my participation in this matter. Councillors, do any of you have a desire to extract any of these items for discussion or action? If you do, I invite you to reach out now through the chat window to Clerk Feltz, and I'll pause for a few seconds. Okay. The clerk has indicated that Councillor Rothwell would like to speak to one of the matters on the consent agenda. Councillor Rothwell, off mute.
Yes, thanks very much, Mr. Kasenberg. With respect to item 3.4, members of the committee were made aware that this may very well be allowed, that was forthcoming from the members of the Lions Club, because they were appointed by the Lions Club some time ago. And it's not particularly surprising, although unfortunate, that we have 2 members from the Lions Club that are not serving in that capacity. So hopefully we can have further conversations with the Lions Club as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further on matters under the consent agenda? Mr. Feltz, do you have any other indications of people wishing to speak? Oh, a member of the staff, Amy Gangle, would like to speak, I assume, to item 3.4.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Just a follow-up to that is as part of this, we received an email from Jim Brenneman highlighting that he would like us to consider leaving his name on this committee as a community representative of Atwood and business owner to let them know his intentions.
Thank you. I assume that that will be handled in discussions with the clerk, who's responsible for ensuring the appropriate process. So thank you for that information. Any other have a matter on the consent agenda that they wish to discuss or point out? The clerk is saying that there are no further indications, so I have a motion before us for the consent agenda that reads as follows. Consent item 3.4 be received for information, and the minutes of the March 3rd, 2020 regular council meeting be adopted. Can I invite Councillor Behrens as our mover for this?
Yes, I will move that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Duncan, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I will second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this matter? If you wish to discuss further, please indicate your intention to the clerk through the chat window. Clerk is indicating there's been no indication of a desire to speak. So vote. It's not here. There's the... Okay, so at this time, we are waiting on 3 votes, which seem to have hit a snag. So I'll call on each of the councillors responsible with the query for this. Councillor Behrens?
Yes, I am in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Johnston? Councillor Johnston, are you with us? Dave, can you take yourself off mute?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler was the last one? Councillor Seiler.
Yes, I'm in favor, Todd.
Thank you. And so that is carried. Our consent agenda item 3 is carried. That brings us to item 4 on our agenda. At this time, we have no public meetings or delegations for this evening's meeting. Brings us to agenda item number 5. And I believe I'm going to ask informally here at this point for a verbal report from the CAO, in particular pertaining to the actions of the corporation during the COVID-19 period. So I'll recognize the CAO, Chris Snell. Chris, if you'll take yourself off mute and work with us on that, we'd appreciate hearing from you.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'd just like to first comment that operations for essential services are running normally with no issues. Staff are separating and are practicing social distancing while on the job. We have expanded our online services to include food and grocery delivery, and we'll be adding a mental health resource section on in the near future. We have a flip book for digital services and programming available, highlighting library, recreation, local arts and culture. And of course, the mayor's blog is being kept up to date. We will be sending a special edition of the PA Connections around this week. Will be a COVID edition. It's just giving all members of the public who do not have access to our online services. A reminder, if anybody has business or agricultural business questions, please have them contact Kim Couch. She's been contacting these issues. We are still dealing with some of the fallback from the weekend announcement on construction and building projects, and still seeking clarification on what can proceed and what needs to be put on hold. Also, for those who have enforcement questions or dealing with enforcement issues, we're asking you to please contact the OPP at the non-emergency number at 1-888-310-1122. Also, please respect on the closure of outdoor amenities. We have had removal of caution tape over the last few days, and just want to offenders being charged.
Okay, I think if I followed you, Chris, we did have a little bit of audio intermittency in your transmission to us, but I think if I'm following that you've completed your report to us. Councillors, I assume that there might be an opportunity for you to ask questions at this point. So if you're interested in asking questions, I invite you to send us a chat request, and we'll call on you in the appropriate order in which your request has been received through the chat window. I'll pause for a few seconds to wait for that. Clerk Fairfelds, are there any requests for questions? Okay. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. And want to thank you for all the work that you have been spearheading in the organization and in your own department at this time. Next up then is item 5.2. And for item 5.2.1, we are asked to consider promulgating an agreement with Terra Park Developments to allow the placement of a temporary trailer for the purposes of sales and information delivery on their construction site adjacent to Perth Meadows. Who am I calling on for this one, Pat? Okay, so we're going to call on Sean Yilmaz, North Perth, to speak to this request and prepare for a resolution about this. Welcome, Sean.
Good evening, Mayor Kaysenberg, members of council. I hope everyone is doing well during this interesting time. So tonight, the first topic that I want to discuss is regarding this agreement. Terra Park Developments Limited, care of Riverview Park residents, is seeking council permission to authorize an agreement between the municipality of North Perth and Terra Park Development Limited to place a temporary office trailer on municipally owned lands for the purpose of sales and information. Riverview Park Residence is a 3-story retirement residence with 84 units located at 595 Havelock Avenue South. Construction has progressed considerably following site plan approval, which was granted on November 12th, 2018. Terra Park Development would like to advance the marketing and sales efforts of Riverview Park Residence and is seeking permission to place an office trailer on the lot directly north of the development lands, as their lands do not have an appropriate area to accommodate the temporary office trailer. The municipally owned lands is located at Part Block 39 of Plan 44M10, being Part 1 on Reference Plan 44R3986. This is the land located between Havelock Avenue South and Nelson Avenue South. Should Council approve North Perth Bylaw 45/2020, an agreement will commence on April 6, 2020 and expire on November 30th, 2020. An office trailer is defined within the agreement and shall only locate on lands identified as Schedule A within the agreement. Additionally, Councillor Rothwell had noted that an additional clause should be included within the agreement, which indemnifies the municipality and removes liability. Staff has revised this agreement to include the clause, which will be signed by the proponent. The municipality will also require securities from Terra Park Developments Limited in the amount of $2,000. This amount has been based on the estimated cost to remove the trailer should the proponents not comply with the items contained within the agreement. The office trailer must also comply with the provisions of the building code and the North Perth zoning bylaw. It is staff's recommendation that council proceed with the adoption of the bylaw, which authorizes the municipality of North Perth to enter into an agreement with Terra Park Developments Limited, which will effectively permit the temporary placement of a sales and information office trailer on municipally property, excuse me. Thank you. I can take some questions at this time if anyone has any.
I'm on mute. That's exciting. Okay. So I have two parts to this. I think what we'll do at this point is we have at least one councillor who wants to ask a question or make a comment. We need someone to be muted. I think Councillor Anstead, that might be you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So Councillor Seiler, would you like to ask a question about this or offer comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Todd. I'd just like to make a comment from the Perth Metals group that I think this would be a good idea. We're trying to make good neighbors with them. I know it came up at our meeting, but we had to pass it on to council because the board didn't want to make it. So I'm just hoping that we'll pass this and make good neighbors with Perth Metals and carry on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question for Planner Yilmaz? The clerk is saying no. We have two items of business here associated with this item. The first is a resolution that reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approve bylaw number 45-2020 to authorize the mayor and the clerk to enter into an agreement with Terra Park Developments Limited, which will effectively permit the temporary placement of a sales and information office trailer on the property described as Part Block 39, Plan 44M10, being Part 1 on 44R 3986, Municipality of North Perth, Havelock Avenue South, for a period commencing on April 6, 2020, and expiring on November 30th, 2020. Councillor Johnston, can I invite you to be the mover for this?
Yes, I would move that.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Kellum, will you be our seconder for this?
Yes, I will second that motion.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or debate? Please indicate so through the chat box. Clerk Bearfelds, do we have any indication of interest in debate or discussion? Okay. So seeing no further indication of a discussion or debate or desire to speak, let's have that vote. Okay, we seem to be missing 2 voters. Let's have the determination from the clerk. Who are we missing? Councillor Seiler, what say you? Councillor Seiler? Councillor Seiler, are you with us? Okay. Councillor Johnston, would you like to cast your vote?
Yes, I'm in favor of that.
Thank you. We'll come back to Councillor Seiler. Is Councillor Seiler available? He's okay. Councillor Seiler is indicating he is a yes. That is carried. Thank you. And next up is item a bylaw resolution here for the same matter. Clerk Bearfelds. We are clarifying that the new clause that was described by Mr. Yilmaz has been added to this draft of the agreement that is proposed to be endorsed by the mayor and the clerk. So let me read the resolution just for your consideration. That bylaw number 45-2020 being a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement with Terra Park Developments Limited be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor, I invite you to be our mover for this. Councillor Richardson, Tyler, we're hearing you now.
Yes, I would be happy to move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Rothwell is our seconder.
Yes, the addition of the clause, I will second the motion.
Yeah, it's there. Thank you. Okay, any discussion or debate? If you'd like to discuss or debate, please express your indication through the chat feature to the clerk. And the clerk is saying that there's been no further requests for this, so let's have that vote. Okay, so at this time, we're missing votes from 2. Councillor Johnston, what say you?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, what say you?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you. So that motion is carried. For item 5.2.2, we are asked to authorize the signing of a site plan agreement with North Town Car Wash. I'll invite North Perth planner Sean Yilmaz to explain this proposition to us. Sean, welcome.
Thank you again, Mayor. Site plan application SP 01-2020 submitted by Tim Thalen, Michelle Thalen, and North Town Car Wash Incorporated is proposing to establish an automobile washing establishment on the subject property. Northtown Car Wash has one existing location located on Wallace Avenue North and are expanding with this new location. The new location is proposed to have 2 auto wash bays as well as a pet wash area. No vacuum area is proposed on the site at this time. The subject property is described as part of lots 12 and 14 of Registered Plan 430 in the Alma Ward and is municipally known as 365 Mitchell Road South. The property is located on the west side of Mitchell Road, which is also known as the Highway 23 connecting link, and has a lot frontage of approximately 31 meters or 101 feet, with a lot area of approximately 1,895 square meters or 20,000 square feet. The subject property is within the highway commercial zone of the North Perth zoning bylaw and includes site-specific provisions identified as C3-25. The C3-25 zone permits automobile washing establishments with the special exception permitting the 31.1 meter public road frontage. The applicants were also successful in reducing the interior side yard setback from the northerly lot line to accommodate the proposed building location through minor variance application A15 2019. This reduced setback to 4.5 meters or 15 feet, where 7.5 meters or 25 feet is normally required. The municipality's chief building official, municipal engineer, fire chief, public works, and the North Perth planner have reviewed the site plan drawing as prepared by GM Blue Plan. The drawing contains the information required for a complete review, adequate access, lot grading, drainage, privacy features, and automobile queuing is provided as shown on the site plan. It is staff's recommendation that council proceed with the adoption of the bylaw authorizing the mayor and the clerk to enter into a new site plan, into a site plan agreement and have it registered on title. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Yilmaz. Councillors, if you have questions for Planner Yilmaz about this application, I invite you to submit your requests through the chat box to the clerk at this time, and we'll call on you in order. Do we have any requests for that? Okay, so we have no requests for chat at this point. So I have 2 items again before us for our consideration. The first is a resolution that reads as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approve site plan application SP1-2020 submitted by Tim Thalen, Michelle Thalen, and Northtown Car Wash, Inc., and prepared by GM Blue Plan Engineers, affecting property described as part of lots 12 and 14 of Registered Plan 430, 365 Mitchell Road South, Elma Ward, and that council proceed with the adoption of the bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to enter into a site plan agreement and have it registered on title of the subject property. Councillor Seiler, can I call on you to be the mover for this one?
Yes, I will move it. Todd, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen, will you be our seconder?
Yes, Mayor Kasenberg, I will second that.
Thank you. We have this duly moved and seconded. Now, again, if you have any discussion or debate, please express your intention to the clerk. Seeing no expression of interest, for the vote. Okay, so we still require 2 manual votes. Councillor Johnston, what say you?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler as the mover, we still need to hear from you though. What say you?
Yes, I will move it, and I will vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And so that is carried. Thank you. And that brings us to the bylaw for this item, which reads as follows: that bylaw number 48-2020, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of a site plan agreement with Northtown Car Wash, Inc., be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Anstick, can I call on you to serve as mover for that?
Yes, I will move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Behrens, will you serve as seconder?
Yes, I will second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate on this one? Please express your intention to the clerk through the chat feature. Seeing none, let's have that vote. So we continue to have technical connection problem with the same two councillors. We'll be coming to you again. Councillor Johnston, what say you?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, what say you?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And that therefore is carried. Thank you. We have at this time no indication of a report from our interim manager of recreation as item 5.3, which turns us now to item 5.4. For item 5.4.1, I will note the intended non-participation for interests of potential pecuniary interest of the declared councillors. That's two of you. So I have a resolution here for our consideration. Let's see. It might be missing. We'll pull it from the scribe then. It's there. Is it there? Okay, thank you. Can you read that for me? Bring that up. So the following summary of accounts be received by council for information. The total, as you can see on the screen, is $3,877,113.77. Councillor Duncan, can I invite you to move that?
Yes, I will move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Johnston is our seconder.
I would second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Please indicate through the clerk. The indication, Clerk Bearfelds? No? Okay, so let's have that vote. And I believe we'll be looking for two. We're looking for Councillor Johnston. What say you?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler. Councillor Seiler, you with us?
Favor.
Thank you. And so that is carried, noting the two declarations of pecuniary interest. So our council colleagues will join us again for the next item. Item 5.4.2. I note pecuniary interest expressed by Councillor Andreessen, who will not be voting with us or considering this matter. In council for item 5.4.2, you are asked to authorize through bylaws the maintenance of 4 different municipal drains. And are we expecting any comments from staff? The Treasurer Hale will be providing us with general comments. Fran, welcome. Fran, are you with us?
Sorry. This evening, the 4 bylaws that are before you are for the Brown Municipal Drain, Hamilton Municipal Drain, Mayberry Municipal Drain, and Perry Municipal Drain. And they've been completed and we're ready to build them out. And so therefore asking council for your approval this evening to do that.
Okay, thank you. So we are treating all of these drains as one item. Yep. And at this time, if you have questions or general comments, we have 4 different bylaws. Yes. Okay, so Councillor Andreessen only needs to declare a conflict on the Mayberry drain, which is part of this item. Okay, we have four different bylaws, which I will address. I think maybe what is the order that we have these in? Do you have them queued up in specific order? So let me invite councillors to express their interest in speaking to these matters through the chat feature in the web conferencing tool. Do we have any expressed interest? Okay, so one of the councillors has expressed conflict of interest. Whoever you are, if you would step forward by taking yourself mute and tell us which drain you feel you have a conflict with, we'll.
It's Dave, and I have on the Mayberry as well.
Mayberry, okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions or general comments before we get into the resolutions? Okay. So, which order do you have these in? 38? Yes. Okay, let's go numerically. Thank you. That's a good idea. All right, we have resolution 1. These are bylaw resolutions. The bylaw number 38-2020 being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the Brown municipal drain be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I invite Deputy Mayor Kellum to move that?
Yes, I'll move that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Richardson, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, thank you. I would be happy to second that.
Thank you. And councillors, do any of you have a desire to speak to that item? If you do, please indicate through the chat function and the clerk will advise. Okay, we see no advice there. Let's have that vote. We've lost it from the screen again. Okay, we have another technical matter that has arisen apparently. I am seeing vote in progress listed on my screen. So there has been an opportunity to vote. Can you bring up a different view of the panel? Oh, there we go. Okay. Hopefully. So we're going to have to call for a manual vote for this and try to figure out what has happened. So I'm going to call councillors alphabetically. Please weigh in as I call you with a yes or a no with regards to your position on this bylaw. Councillor Andreessen.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Anstead.
Yes.
Councillor Behrens.
Yes.
Councillor Duncan.
Yes.
Councillor Johnston.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kellum.
Yes.
Councillor Richardson.
Yes.
Councillor Rothwell.
Yes.
And Councillor Seiler.
Yes.
And that is carried. Thank you. The technology catches up with us. Please yourselves again, councillors. Item number 2 is the Mayberry drain. This two of you have declared potential conflicts of interest, so we'll ask two of you. We'll acknowledge that two of you are stepping out. That bylaw number 39-2020 being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the Mayberry municipal drain be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time and be finally passed. And the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I invite Councillor Rothwell to move that one?
Yes, Mayor, I will move that.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler as our seconder.
Yes, Mayor Todd, I will second that.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate, please indicate through the chat function to the clerk. Okay, we're not seeing anything, so concerned that the last vote is still flashing in our interface. I'm not quite sure what to make of that. Maybe we have a challenge with eScribe and we'll have to pause if we want to try to resuscitate this. Is there any way for you to close the last vote, Ben? I'm not seeing anything. Oh, wait a minute now. I'm seeing 38 now. Seeing 38? Yeah. Okay, councilors, bear with us. We have a technical problem. Is there a way to this? I'm going to mute myself while I consult with the clerk. Councilors, we are experiencing some technical issues with eScribe at this point in time. Just bear with me a few more seconds while we see if we can troubleshoot that in the chamber. Okay, councilors, we're going to do something a little under the technical problems that we're having. We're going to ask you to bring down your eScribe client and restart eScribe. We hope this will take a few moments. We're going to, when you have finished and have eScribe rebooted, can you please send a note to the clerk through the chat window saying yes or done? Maybe done is better. Okay, so I'm going to mute myself again and do the same operation. We're just reloading eScribe. Councilors, I'll ask you to put yourself on mute. As I said, when you have eScribe reloaded, you've logged in again, please send the clerk a message. for Councillor Seiler and Councillor Behrens, from what I'm told. And Deputy Mayor Kellum, I think we're waiting on you and eScribe as well. Okay, so we got Councillor Seiler is now in. Thank you. Okay, so only Councillor Behrens remains out according to this. If you need troubleshooting support, Julie, just send a chat to us through WebEx. Okay, it appears we're all in. Thank you for taking the aggressive troubleshooting step there. So we are on bylaw 39, which was the Mayberry drain. It was duly moved and seconded. We saw no requests for a chat or discussion. So we're going to see if eScribe does what it needs to do at this point. Let's have the vote. So we're missing Councillor Seiler. So Councillor Seiler, what say you?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. And that is therefore carried. Next up is, and we can bring our colleagues back in, I believe, who are not, were not to vote there. This one is bylaw number 49-2020, being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the Hamilton Municipal Drain, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Andreessen, would you serve as our mover for that?
Yes, I'll move that motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Anstead, will you serve as our seconder?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate, please indicate through the chat window to the clerk. And seeing no indication of same, let's have that vote. Okay, so we're missing two at this point. Councillor Andreessen, what say you?
Yes, I'll support the motion.
Thank you. And Councillor Seiler, what say you? Councillor Seiler? He's in there already. So who are we missing? That's it? That's everybody? I thought we had 10. We're missing somebody. Okay. Okay, thank you. So that is carried. Thank you. And fourth one here, that bylaw number 50-2020, being a bylaw to authorize the maintenance and repair of the Perry Municipal Drain, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed. And that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Behrens, can I invite you to be the mover on that one?
Yes, I will move that motion.
And Councillor Duncan?
I will second that one.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate, please indicate through the chat window. Fairfelds, anything? Okay, so no expression of interest on discussion or debate. Let's have that vote. So we're missing a few. We're missing a few. Okay, so so Councillor Andreessen, we're not getting your vote recorded on eScribe. So could you tell us how you will vote on this matter?
Yes, I'll support the motion.
Thank you. So that is carried as well. And that brings us to the end, I think, of 5.4.2, which means that we would move on in our agenda for 5.4, 5.5. We have no reports expected from the manager of adjournment this evening, but I know they're working hard for us through this time. And item 5.6, let's turn to item 5.6.1. Council is asked to award a number of tenders related to municipal works. Mr. Couch, our manager of operations, I assume is on the call and can address this. And we need everyone else but Mr. Couch to mute themselves, please.
Mayor Kaysenberg, members of council, hopefully you can hear me clearly. In front of you tonight are the award of 3 tenders for spring maintenance programs. 2 of them are for a 2-year period, liquid dust control and maintenance gravel. The other sidewalk construction is various sidewalk repairs throughout the municipality. If you look through your report, you'll see that there's a spreadsheet showing who the low bidders were. Awards for these tenders are for the low bidders. The bids are all in order, and there's a recommendation to follow. The only award that is an exception is the one for the maintenance gravel that came in slightly over budget, about $60,000 over budget. The recommendation from staff for that tender, and it's for knowledge, is for the budgeted amount of $545,000 for year 2020, and then up to $561,000 for year 2021, and that's $60,000 less than what was bid. I would say that there's a implication of not awarding for the $60,000. It means that about 4 or 5 blocks would not be have maintenance at the level that we've been doing it, which is the aggressive building level that we've been doing. So that there wasn't enough buffer in the council to make the recommendation for the additional 60,000. That's what's in front of you, those 3 motions and those 3 awards. I'm seeing I'm choppy. I can try talking off the main computer. Is this clear for everyone right now? Or still choppy? I'm gonna have to go back to this method. Hopefully you can hear me. If there's any questions, I can address those.
Yeah, I think we got the gist of the report. Certainly, can I ask councillors, if you have questions, could you direct your asking to the clerk at this time? I think we had a little bit of echo there, and that was because one councillor was left on through that session. So we've solved that problem now. Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Question through to Lyndon. I didn't quite hear, because of the sound quality, how many sections of road would we not be doing maintenance gravel on as a result of this again? Thank you.
Probably 4 or 5 2-kilometer blocks would be absent this year. Those would be mixed throughout the municipality, but not completed for the package. It's about 5,500 tons that would not be purchased of gravel.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, speak out, your microphone is not spectacular. I think we'll have to troubleshoot that for you moving forward. Councillors, are there any other questions to speak? Okay, so if everyone would put themselves back on mute, I have a resolution for our consideration at this time that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth award the following tenders under NP 001-20T Liquid Dust Control 2020 and 2021 to the low bidder Daily Dust Control Limited, 350 Jones Road, Stony Creek, Ontario, in the amount of $735,254.40. Tender NP 002-20T, Sidewalk Construction 2020 to the low bidder, Nicholson Concrete, 3785 Perth Line 29, Stratford, Ontario, in the amount of $45,538. And tender NP 003-20T, Maintenance Gravel for 2020 and 2021 to the low bidder, Dunnigan's Haulage 2010 Limited, in the amount of $545,000 for 2020 and $561,500 for 2021. Can I invite Councillor Johnston as our mover?
I would move that.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Kellum, will you serve as our second?
Yes, I will second that motion.
Thank you. If you have a discussion or debate, please express your interest to the clerk through the chat function. And we are not seeing any indication of that through chat, so let's have that vote. And who are we missing? Councillor Seiler, what say you?
Yes.
And therefore, that is carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 6 on our agenda. For item 6.1, councillors, are there any reports you would like to ask of staff or our committees? To request the opportunity to make these report requests, please indicate in the chat feature of the web conferencing tool. Anything, councillors, for reports? Okay. We're going to make a small shift with council's indulgence. CAO Snell would like to take a second crack at his report so that it's somewhat more audible, and he believes he's fixed his microphone, so we'll call on CAO Snell, sort of a replacement for item 5.1. Chris.
Thank you. I understand I had some technical difficulties, but please interrupt me if I'm not clear. I would like to begin by saying that all our operations for essential services are with no issues. Staff are separating and practicing social distancing. We have continued to update our online services with food and grocery delivery services list available on our website. We're expanding that to a mental health resource for citizens, and we've created the book for digital services and programs. These services include library, recreation, and local arts and culture sections. Mayor continues to update his blog. Special edition of the Community Connections coming out this week. A COVID edition for those citizens who do not have access to online services. Again, I would remind everybody, if they have any business or ag business comments or questions, please contact Kim Couch. She is keeping up to date on this file. We are still seeking clarification from the province in building projects based on Friday's announcement. We're still working with groups like OGRA and the BOA to have clarification on what is considered essential under the new rules. Also, for those with informative questions, we are asking them to please contact the OPP at the non-emergency number, 888-310-1122. We are dealing with people who are choosing to deal with these issues on their own, and we would ask that they actually contact the OPP instead. And the outdoor amenities are closed. We would ask people to respect that closure. We are having caution tape removed from some of our outdoor facilities, and offenders may be charged if this continues. Again, we're available by calling the general line 2950. Staff are working and addressing all questions that people have. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Councillors, if you have any questions for Chris, please make your request through the chat function. Okay. And Councillor Rothwell, I'll call on you at this point. You have a question.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Todd. And question through to Chris. Again, you were breaking up a little bit, but I believe you said we're having ongoing conversations with OGRA and others regarding our projects for the municipalities. And perhaps we'll have a email or a report later at our next council meeting just to confirm what I believe it, or what we believe it says, is that most, if not all, construction projects for the municipality are considered to be essential. Thank you.
Chris?
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. That's correct. We are continuing to have ongoing conversations with the province and our associations to seek clarification on both construction projects as well as the announcements around building permits.
Okay, I've been advised by the clerk, and I think this is unfortunate information in some ways, that both of the child care center construction projects have been put on hold. Okay, any further questions at this time for CAO Snell? So that brings us to item 7. There have been no items of correspondence shared with us beyond that which has already been reviewed in our consent agenda. Brings us to item 8 on our agenda, which allows council to consider and enact bylaws, and we have no additional bylaw proposals before us tonight beyond those that haven't already been otherwise addressed on our agenda. That brings us to item 9 on our agenda. Are there any notices of motion from councillors attending this evening? Again, the approach here would be to indicate that you'd like to speak through the chat function. Fairfelds, anything on that one? Thank you. That brings us to item 10 on our agenda. For item 10.1, are there any announcements that would be of benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? If you would like to speak, please so indicate in the web chat window to the clerk. Okay, Councillor Andreessen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I just want to offer my thanks and gratitude to our Parks and Rec staff and to our library staff who have indeed, as reported, a lot online. And I think that's a really big benefit to our community to have access to some of those services through an online type of perspective. And I think that's very much needed at this time. So I'd like to just offer my thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Andreessen. A point well made. Please, Amy, pass that along to your team. Appreciate that. Any other announcements or information that councillors would like to communicate at this time, or staff for that matter? Okay, clerk, anything? Okay, seeing none, we have no matters to consider in a closed session of council this evening. Thus, we have nothing to report on a closed session because it just didn't happen. Council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. At this time, I will introduce a draft of a confirmatory bylaw, number 51-2020, which reads as follows. The bylaw number 51-2020 being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Richardson, can I invite you to move that?
I would be happy to move that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Rothwell, would you second that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate, please indicate through the chat window to the clerk so that we may recognize you. And the clerk advises no expression of interest there. Let's have that vote. we are not seeing it on that screen either. And so with the earlier declared conflicts and those councillors remaining outside the vote, there were 4. That is carried 6-0. At this time, that brings us to our adjournment opportunity. Councillors, before we adjourn, are there any matters of business that we should consider? If you have something to express, please indicate through the chat function. Seeing none, I have a resolution for our consideration for adjournment. It reads as follows: that the council meeting adjourns at 8:10 p.m. Actually, it's 8:19 p.m. Into the computer to meet again for general council business on Monday, April 20th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Councillor Seiler, can I invite you to be the mover for that?
Yes, I'll move that, Mayor Todd. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Andreessen, can you serve as our seconder for that?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's have that vote. Councillor Rothwell, we have not received.
I'm in favor. Thank you.
And so with Councillor Rothwell's vote recorded, this meeting is adjourned. Council, thank you for your support through this meeting, our first of a few, I suspect, meetings of this nature. We appreciate the good humor with which you received the challenge and rose to the challenge of using the technology. And I'm sure you'll see some more of this before we're done. Again, appreciate it and wish you all a happy Easter. Thank you.